Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, everybody. 28th of September 2021. We are here with you guys. And it's good to have you all here with us. We will talk today about chapter 10 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. We will discuss items 1 to item 6. So let's have more time, a little bit more, 1 or 2 minutes here to allow people joining us. I can see that the number of views are increasing, and we will kick off today. So meanwhile, let me do the initial prayer. So let's raise up our thoughts, make connection with superior spirits, with our mentors of the show, mentors of Kardec Radio. Mentor of Spiritist Society of Ireland. And want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. We want to say thank you for our health, our work, our food, our clothes. May this prayer reach out to our brothers and sisters who are in need of attention, care, health. So be it. Amen. Okay. So let's start here. There's enough time to everyone to join. And last week we finished chapter 9, and as you know, since chapter 5. Kardec gives some comments in relation to all the Beatitudes. Say the
Sermon of the Mount.
Yeah. So he comments the Sermon of the Mount, and we can see it's a kind of level of degree. And I'm saying this because now we will start blessed are the merciful. And we cannot be a merciful if you are not mild and pacific. So you can do it. So you need the chapter 9 in order to commit with the chapter 10. And the great question here is, what is mercy? You know what is mercy?
We have here a definition in the book.
Yeah.
But of course, I'd say I'm going to give my personal explanation, and let's see what the book says later. But I believe mercy is to be kind. Is to try to give to the other what you like to receive from someone else if you're in the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like If some people, when they see the news and they see people committing crime, our initial thought is to say, oh, that person deserves to stay in jail for 20, 30 years, or that person deserves this and that. Oh, yes, the judge was correct, the law was correct. But let's change a little bit. Imagine that person was your kid, your son. Would you say the same? Imagine if it was you. Would you say the same? We're not trying to make things which are bad, crimes perhaps. We're not trying to soften. Of course, we have law, and these laws, they're going to give the correct penalties or the correct punishment, which law, says for that case is deserved. But once we think about mercy, it doesn't mean also that we're going to forget and say, okay, it doesn't matter what you did, you're okay to go. No, mercy at the same time could be also that, yes, you don't carry any hard feelings in your heart for that person or for that situation. However, whatever has to be taking place according to the law, we have to let the human law to take place. So basically trying to simplify, for me, mercy is this. I'm going to give to the other what I'd like to receive in the best way possible, and vice versa. Because we sometimes, we put ourselves like Peter did in a position that we're going to give mercy to the others. Oh, I'm so merciful, I'm so nice. Because Peter thought he was like this because he was walking down with Jesus around Galilee. But Peter later on, he realized that he was the one who was in need for mercy. That's why so many times in the Bible, Jesus talked to Peter about forgiveness. Because Jesus understood that Peter thought he was the one who always going to give mercy. But he knew that Peter wouldn't know how to deal once he was the one who needed mercy. And we see that in the Bible. We see that in the gospel so many times in the 4 gospels. What do you think, Stevan?
You said a wonderful thing in terms of how we measure, how we deal with the others. And this is clear to us uh, in terms of mercy. It's a kind of, at least to me, it's a proof that we live, that we are not we live, we have the cause and effect law acting upon us every time. Every time. Because, like the example you gave, if it's my son or myself who commit that crime, let's say, oh, you need to understand, I am, I am, like they say, like social victim.
Yeah, victims of society.
Yeah, victim of society. I didn't have this, I didn't have that. No, if you are the one who are robbed or something like this, you want the law apply until the last minute to this the person, you know. So this is law of cause effect, and we didn't um realize that, you know. So we haven't worked this properly. We know that, so we need to, we have this law of cause effect. It's good. I know, I read, and this fall in another trap, because we can read many books. We can read all the books of Kardec. We can read all the books of Chico Xavier. We can read all the books about spiritualism, spiritualist, any a Bible, Quran, and everything. And we understand, we have the ability to understand it intellectually, but we cannot act as we read. We don't act, even though I have good intentions. Even though I just read something, oh no, this makes total sense. This is correct. Oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you, this. Thank you. Oh, great. But what? And in 5 minutes, something happened to you. You're gonna say something wrong, bad, something bad that happens to you. How are you gonna behave? So you're reading somewhere. You need to be peacemaker. You need to be mild in order to be merciful. But you don't act like this. I think this is one of the greatest barrier we have in our life that we need to work on.
Steven, it's nice what you said. And I know it's not easy to put in practice what we study, what we read, what we say in the lives, or what we should say in the Spirit Center. But everything, according to the Spirit, it's a process. Today, you are the one who believes you are in the position of forgiving the others because you believe the others have hurt you. But Kardec says to us here, if you analyze, in fact, the entire situation, if you look with honest eyes, perhaps you will see that maybe you are the one who are causing trouble. You are the one who started the entire situation, and maybe the other person, because the other person is still evolving like you, like me, like everyone else, maybe didn't react in the best way, and that took the worst of that person. But that person had no intention to harm or to say anything bad to you. But because of that thing that you said in the beginning, because of that thing that you did, maybe you triggered something in that person. And once we talk about law of action and reaction, we say sometimes, but I didn't want to do that. That person acting that way, it's not my problem. Yes, it is your problem. Of course, the other is responsible for what he does from your attitude, from your action. But you have to understand that we shouldn't really try to challenge the others with our words, with our deeds. Because sometimes we say things to the others, things that may harm the others, but we don't expect that the other will be harmed. We don't want that. So you want to say whatever you want to be the honest person, but once that person reacts in a different way that you didn't expect, you think it's unfair. That's why Emmanuel says to us, do not try your brother's fate. Do not try to go further, because maybe if you were in that position, you would act even worse than him. And that's why here in the Gospel
keep saying, because you said about Emmanuel, I remind one chapter. Emmanuel is brilliant in that. Let me get the book here.
Okay. So that's why you have to understand that, yes, we are responsible for what we do. We must try to forgive, and it's not easy to really put in practice what we say. But these situations, which are orchestrated by the law of action and reaction, which are orchestrated by life, they put us in a situation that today I'm going to perhaps forgive someone. I'm going to have to exercise forgiveness, but tomorrow I'm going to be asking forgiveness. But once we are not able to forgive the others properly, which right do we have to ask forgiveness once we are in that difficult situation? We have no right. That's why once we get here, Kardec starts this chapter here when he says, if your brother sins against you, go and show him his fault, just between you two. If he listens to you, you have won a brother. So if someone does something against you, go and talk straight to that person. Don't keep gossiping around, Try to go and be honest with that person, only with that person, not in social media, not on Twitter. Go and say to that person, hey, you have said something to me which I didn't like. Can we do something about? You hurt my feelings. If you are honest with that person, perhaps if your intention was just to point out that to that person in order to fix the situation, as the book says here, you may gonna have win a brother. because that person realized that person was honest with me. That person told me the truth. So we have to go in this part here of the gospel, in the beginning of chapter 10. The spirits, they give several examples, like go and reconcile with your enemy while you are with him on the way. Again, trying to call us to reconcile with someone who perhaps made some evil against us, or we did. Because this situation of doing and receiving evil against each other, it's something which keeps repeating throughout reincarnation. Because today you are in this position, yesterday you were in a different position, and tomorrow you'll be in a different position. But why we are not really fixing ourselves, why we're not becoming merciful, we're still going to be in this cycle of hurting someone, being hurted tomorrow, and vice versa, and keeps like this. That's why Jesus always said to us, especially in this chapter here, always just gonna say, he's gonna give to us examples of trying to solve our issues in the best way possible, in the most honest way possible. Because sometimes we want to reconcile with the others, but not in the others' way, in our own way. So we go there and say to Stevan, Stevan, you did this, you did that, blah, blah, blah. You are this, you are that, you are that. Because I believe I have the right to say the truth to Stevan in Stevan's face. The Spirit says, no, it's not like this. Because you want to reconcile in your own way. But sometimes you have to be in the other way, in the other one's way. Because you are the one who was trying to reconcile. So perhaps you're going to have to be the one who is thinking bigger, who really is more mature, spiritually and morally. That's why Emmanuel says a beautiful phrase to Chico Xavier once in a difficult situation when a lady was saying that Chico Xavier was a liar. And I believe she even spitted in Chico Xavier's face. And Chico, though was someone very, very calm and someone who had the gospel inside of his heart, he lost his temper for a second. And Emmanuel said, Chico, let's give the healing, later on we talk. And Chico was really annoyed, and he gave the healing. And after the healing session, the lady went away, and Chico said to Emmanuel, but come on, I was right, Emmanuel. Why did you ask me to do the healing? Did you see what she did to me? She spit on my face. Emmanuel said to Chico, you were right, but she was in need. So the Spirit explains to us that sometimes, even if we are right, once the other demands forgiveness for us or mercy, we have to put ourselves down and understand that maybe that person did what that person did because that person is in a difficult situation. That person perhaps is not seeing what you are seeing. That's why, like Stevan said it right in the beginning, for you to be able to be merciful, you have to be mild and pacific. So once you become mild and pacific, you understand maybe that person is having a bad day. Let it go. And that's what this chapter is talking a lot about: reconciliation with our enemies and our adversaries. Go ahead, Stevan.
Okay, allow me to read. It's on the book Living Spring.
Oh, yeah.
135. And the title is Forgive Always by Emmanuel. No matter how serious your neighbor's wrongs may seem to be, do not waste your time on criticism. Condemning strengthens the darkness and sets up barriers to serving the light. Regarding victims of evil, look for some good with which you may uplift them. Just as life performs the miracle of making apparently dead trees green again. Before anything else, remember how difficult it is to judge people's decisions concerning experiences that are different from our own. How can we reflect if we appropriate someone else's conscience? And how can we sense reality if we use a heart that does not belong to us? And so on. So it's too big. I will not read the entire message. But it is exactly what Wanderley just said to us. No, we don't know. Like, uh, we don't know how bad day we had. Perhaps we have we try to be very good, but that specific day we are suffering, and someone just put the fingers where they don't need to put. Um, I think it is. I heard it on one of the talks from Haroldo Dutra, and uh, he said that he was with his son. At that time, his son was like 11 years, 12 years old, something like this, and he was driving.
I know the story.
Yeah, and suddenly someone just cut his way, and he almost crashed the car, and as normal, let's say normal human being, he stopped the car at the traffic light just in parallel with the car, and he was willing to open the window and say everything he wants to say to the guy. And before he opened the window, his son said to him, "Are you mad, Dad? Do you want to call him bad words?" And if he's following you on your YouTube channel,
If you watch your lives
and
and
if
stuff,
he watches your lives, watches your speech, so Haroldo just close the window and move on. So we have like this is life. We have bad days, good days, not so good days, not so good bad days. This is life. Let's see what Don says to us here. Hey Don, my friend,
don't.
thank you. I can't help but wonder, is what we think we know actually truth or just an opinion? And others are also expressing their opinions. So I try to hold my tongue when I disagree with others. Yeah, we need to bite our tongue or drink a glass of water, but don't swallow it. Yeah, don't. It is difficult, my friend. This is we're giving all these example from Chico, example from Haroldo, what I just read here from Emmanuel. We know what we need to do, but when we are tested, most of the time our tendency is failing. You know? And what we need to do in order to avoid failing, what you just said, hold your tongue, drink a glass of water, but don't swallow. Sometimes don't go. If you go to that place, something gonna happen. Then you're gonna use your mediumship, your feelings. I don't want to go there. I don't have a good impression, so don't go. You know, uh, another way you can avoid it is if you hear something bad from that person, try to understand how is that person's day. Try to figure out if she or he is having just a bad day or is a series of bad days happening, and that person just needs someone to listen them. So this is what we need to do in order to avoid, but it's up to you.
Stevan, because you spoke a little bit about mediumship, just this part here of item 5 and 6 in the Gospel according to Spiritism, we have that beautiful part of the Gospel in Matthew where Jesus says, "Agree with your adversary quickly, while you are still on the way with him. Along the
Oh, this is
way,
amazing.
yeah, and or he may hand you over to the judge, and the judge hand you over to the officer, and you are thrown into the prison. Truly I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid all your last penny." I have said so many times about this parable here when I was talking about forgiveness, because for me it was like this: I'm having a problem with someone in this life now. I'm going to reconcile, because I know if I don't reconcile with that person, that energy between us would still be uh, attached to our perispirit and our next life, probably, as we're gonna see here in the text. But here, beautifully, the spirits, they say to us that when Jesus was talking about this part here in the gospel, he wasn't only talking about this present life, as some people they think, okay, I'm gonna try to forgive that person because I'm with that person this life. But he's saying this: if we don't forgive that person now, that person that perhaps we have made some damage, some probably evil actions, that person in the future may become what we call in the Spiritist movement, or what we have in the codification of Kardec, an obsessor. Because we have to understand like this, like we hear so many times in the Spiritist philosophy, love doesn't go away, doesn't end with death, but hate also. Hate does not end with death. So if you have someone who always causes you harm, or vice versa, that hate between each other, between you two, will still existing in the next life. But in that life, you were living together. But maybe in the next life, you're going to be living in Japan. That person may be living 50 years later, for example, in Netherlands. But while you are in one place and he's in the other, especially if he's one of these two parts are in the spiritual world, the spirits explain to us that an obsession may occur, because whoever you did damage in the previous life is in the spiritual life and you are incarnated, or vice versa, and that person, as your enemy, wants to harm you. That's why Jesus said, beautiful, try to fix everything while you can. If you do this, you're going to have a better life right now with that person while you are still alive on the way, as he says here. But if you are not, as it says here, you're going to be sent to jail. And what is jail here? What we understand from this parable, jail is the next life, is the future incarnations, where you're going to have to be paying, as he says here, until the last penny. So until you fix all the damage that you have caused to that person, you're still going to be attached to that spirit. Does that mean that if I do some harm to someone, I'm going to be, as I said before, attached to that spirit in the previous life? That is the only way for me to fixing this is if I am with that spirit in a next reincarnation. Not really, because the spirits, they explain to us, that's what we do in a lot of mediumship meetings. We pray to our obsessors. We pray to the spirits who perhaps are causing harm to us. And why are they causing harm to us? Is that because they are bad? No, because they are asking for their debts to be paid. Is it correct? No, it's not correct. But for them, it's correct. Because for them, they think, you caused me harm, I'm going to come here now as an obsessor, and I'm going to take all the debts that you owe me, Wanderley. Now, you're going to be in my hands. That's what they think. But we, in the Spiritist meetings, we try to say to that person, my friend, you are in the spiritual world. Let it go. We know that he is wrong, but let it go, not for him, but for yourself. So what I'm trying to say, that the act of mercy, the act of forgiveness in this case, is not for the other one or for the spirits that cause harm to you and vice versa. It's for yourself. Because whoever is able to forgive, it's free. And once you are free, that connection that you have between that spirit in the previous life and this life here now, it's broken. Because maybe you did all the good that you were able to fix that situation in a different, with different people. Okay, so you try to do as much good as you could, but maybe that spirit in the other in the spiritual world, that spirit won't be able to affect you anymore, because you are trying to do your best, you are practicing charity, you are trying to forgive. Then that hatred from that spirit does not hit you anymore. So what's the best way to avoid obsession according to the gospel, according to Spiritism? Is to acting good, is to practicing charity, is to love. As Peter said, the apostle, love covers a multitude of sins. So this connection, yes, it may exist, as we have here in the book, but all the good that you do, we will start to fade that connection away. And if the other spirit or the other person does not want to forgive you, there is nothing you can do. You can pray as much as you can, but sometimes even the contact for these two people and that two spirits, they're not ready yet. Or maybe one side is not ready yet to see the other. Maybe you are ready to forgive. You are ready to give a hug on that person, on that spirit, and say, let's forget it. But the other one is not ready yet. So then the other person will face the law of action and reaction, because he does not want to let things go. But you are trying your best. So I'm saying this, but of course I would recommend the Medium's book when it talks about obsession, especially here, as it says here, the two types of obsession that he talks the most, which is the subjugation and possession. So it's always nice to read a little bit more about this. But yep, what do you think, Stevan?
Yeah, you touch a very good point. When we say try to reconcile while you are here on earth, law cause effect is there. If something happens to you, it's not by chance. It's because you have provoked it, or because that event, it was part of your reincarnatory plan to go through that difficulty or that moment. So what I'm saying is, if you have someone and you have problems with that person, it's not by chance. It's because you both ought to be here in order to try to sort it out. Because imagine like this: I have a problem with Wanderley. We don't sort out this problem in this incarnation. We both return to the spiritual world. We will need to go to another incarnation. We don't know when
Or how?
and how exactly, and how, you know,
The conditions, yeah.
to be here, to reconcile ourselves. So again, we need to think and put ourselves in someone's shoes all the time. There are two types of forgiveness. The forgiveness you have from your heart, you truly forgive. Remember, forgive is not forget. I'm not saying what the person harmed you just delete from your memory and that's it. No. It's a process. It's a process in which you will still remember what that person did to you, but you don't have that feeling, that that anger, that heavy feeling when you remember that episode. And a lot of people think that, oh, you want me to forget what they did? No, I don't want you to forget. And this is one of the greatest things we need to do to ourselves. Reconciling with our neighbor. It's so important because this we need to make our reincarnation worth. We are doing a lot of, let's say wrongdoings, but let's use this incarnation to gain some time on the evolutional process. Like in a marriage, always one needs to give a step back, even though that person is the right one. We need to give that step back. Otherwise, you're gonna live in a hell. You're gonna live in a hell because all the time you're gonna fight, 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 fight. No? Let me see more here. I like this. In the act of pardoning, there is not only a moral effect, but also a material effect. And let's talk more this. So when you're forgiving someone, you have the moral and the material. Material is you set that person free. And the moral is you have your clean conscience.
But Steven, think about this. Once you think about material, let's think about André Luiz. André Luiz explains to us that all the hard feelings that we carry inside of our heart, all the hate, and all the burden that we carry inside of ourselves, it's something which becomes material. Why does that become material? Because maybe in some cases, after you have been someone who is not able to forgive anyone, or you are someone who is always unhappy, or if you are someone who always only see the worst in the others. He explains to us that people like this, sometimes they get sick. So what started in their heart and in their feelings became material. So if you, as like Stevan said, the material aspect could be in a good way, but if we don't forgive, this material can become something quite bad inside of our health. That's why I said before, whoever forgives is not doing for the others. Guys, we are not forgive. If you have a problem with your father, with your brother, with your wife, whoever is a person, believe me, and believe me, once you forgive that person, you are not doing anything good for them. You are doing for yourself first. That's why Jesus spoke so many times with Peter, but that's why this, as Steven was saying, when we talk about the Sermon of the Mount, this is the last part, which is forgiveness. That's why Jesus forgave at the cross, because he understood that was the most difficult lesson that humanity would have to learn. How to forgive the others, how to give to the others what we want the others to give to us. So that's not an easy task to forgive anyone. But like Steven said, forgiveness is not forgetting. If someone did some harm to you, you're not going to forget. But because let's say if you're in a relationship where one of the parts is quite abusive, so that person may harm and hurt you again. You are forgiving that person. You're not trying to hold any bad feelings against your partner. But you know that you cannot be so close to that person anymore, because that person may harm and hurt you again. It's not because you don't want to be close too much to that person that you are not forgiving. You are forgiving, but that person does not want to be different, and you cannot force anyone. So that's why Jesus, he understood. That's why Peter, so many times, he had the shoes of how to forgive. We see all the apostles have the very similar shoes. We see James. He had strugglings with Paul, and that strugglings between Paul and James, according to Emmanuel, was in Paul's and James' heart for over 20 years. Only after 30 years, more or less, Paul was able to understand and let things go. We are talking about someone who perhaps was close to Mary, who was close to the other apostles. James, which someone says that he was a brother or he was a cousin of Jesus. So he was with Jesus, growing up with Jesus beside him. And James, he was holding a bad experience that he had with Paul for so many years. So if for those people it wasn't easy to forgive, imagine for ourselves. It's not easy. But that's why Jesus invites us all the time. Keep trying. Keep trying. And if you're not able to forgive that person yet, be honest and say to that person, I'm not able to forgive you yet. Please give me some time. Because sometimes one person comes to you and say, can you please forgive me for what things I've done? And we say, oh, of course, I forgive you. But inside you want to kill that person. And it's much better if you are honest and say, I'm sorry, but I can't forgive you yet. Give me some time. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to forgive you someday in my life, but I can't deal with this. And again, we always say here that a really good thing that we should do, of course, is the gospel at home, is to be reading good books. But also, if you're not able to deal with someone, maybe look for a psychologist, someone who can perhaps help you to see things in a different way. So it's not easy, guys. Believe me. I know it's not easy to forgive people because I have my problems like everyone else. I have people in my heart which are still struggling. And sometimes people, because they are family, we're supposed to have forgiven them a long time ago. But even family, there are some cases which will take 30, 40, 50 years to forgive someone from your family, maybe your parents, one of your parents, your mom, your dad, or they passed away and you didn't forgive them. So it's not easy. But if you don't try today, the latest tomorrow, tomorrow, I'm not talking about tomorrow like philosophically, right? Tomorrow, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. And it's good to say, because most of us we think like when we die we don't have this enemy. It is the other way around. Another argument you can use to try to reconcile when you are here is because if you have a row with someone and both of you passed away, and perhaps you are reincarnate again, you gain an obsessor. And this is going to be an unfair battle because they're going to harm you in terms of uh, 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 attitudes. So we need to reconcile all the time. Let's see, Leah has a question here. Does it count in the numbers of good to forgive trespasses of the dead, or I am stuck with then next incarnation? Leah, I don't like the word stuck. You are not stuck because the reincarnatory plan is you plan it. It's you asking for such or such trials, such experiences. It's you asking it. Based on this, if you if you do have a row and both of you want to sort this out, I'm saying yes, probably you both or you will decide to reincarnate with that spirit.
That's
In
called
the book, huh?
That's called family.
Yeah. Well, in that book, No Solar, see, André Louis' mother, she she was experiencing one of the last chapters of the book. She was uh, she will reincarnate because her husband that life had problems with two women. Like I don't know if they are affair or something like this.
Affairs, yeah.
They have a problems with these two women. These two women were obsessing him, and she decided the spirits made a compulsory reincarnation to André Luiz' father. Her mother decided to reincarnate, and one of the girls will be the wife of the father, and the other one will be a daughter of them.
I think, Steven, both of them, they would be daughters
They're
of.
both of them daughter.
So they would go back as a couple, and Luis' mother and Luis' father.
Oh,
And they would
okay,
have
yeah,
two daughters, and the two daughters would have some problems and once they were teenagers.
yeah. So this is a choice in order to resolve it. It's not imposed. Oh, but you say André Luis' father had a compulsory. Yes, sometimes we do have a compulsory reincarnation because we don't have any conscious to decide anything. We are so lost. We are so desperate in our feelings. We don't have our feet on the ground in order to decide anything. In such case, our mentors and everyone who look after us, they will program our reincarnation. So again, Leah, that's why I don't like the word stuck. You probably say, let's do this again. Let's try one more time. Now we're going to try differently. So this is one of the other points. But I don't know. Can you imagine? We don't know. For us, the biggest experiencing of love is a love of a mom towards a son or a daughter. Let me see. Don says, wouldn't the law of progress prevent stuckness?
Depends, Tom, because we have to understand like this. As we have in the gospel here, we have to try to reconcile with that person as much as we can. So if there is some connection between you two, some hard feelings, that's going to be like a magnet. They're going to be like lines, like a web. You're going to be connected. If you don't fix that, if you or that person does not fix that, as Steven said, he doesn't like the word stuckness, but you're going to be connected for sure. The law of action and reaction will prevent that, or will try to avoid that after several attempts. So imagine if you have several lives with that person and neither of you wants to reconcile. Then perhaps you're going to have a different situation with different a same situation with a different spirit, and maybe with that spirit maybe you're going to be able to fix your issues with the law of action and reaction. But the gospel is quite clear. Until you don't pay the last penny, you're not going to be leaving prison. So once we use these words by Jesus, the law of progress would, we can say it like this: the law of progress will not prevent stuckness if there is still a connection between you two. But we have to understand that this connection won't be forever. So we are talking about several incarnations, not forever. Yes, if you say to me that I would be stuck with that person or connect with that person forever, yes, then you are correct. But these kind of connections, they are never forever. Never. Sometimes it can take 2, 1 incarnation, 3, 4 reincarnations, doesn't matter. But one day that will be gone. And once you break that connection, that that connection, that web will start to dissolve. And maybe you too, like these spirits, they're going to start to be friends. They're going to start to see each other as a brothers and sisters. So then they're going to be helping the others, others with similar problem. But yes, so the law of progress will not prevent, because it's not forever, this connection.
Yeah. Yes, says here, he was a devil. I don't want any connections ever, not reconcile, just for him to be gone forever. My dear, I know it hurts. Again, we said forgiving is not forget. Uh, we don't know what happened in the past to create the behavior or the attitudes that clearly affecting you right now. But both of you are spirits in progress. Well, actually, so we need to understand that we are all fail. We ought to fail sometimes. Neither of us are perfect. It is tricky and it is difficult, but at least you try. I'm not saying you're gonna get this resolved this incarnation, but at least what I ask you is try this incarnation. Try use this incarnation as a starting point. Use this incarnation as a game changer in your both lives. How to start it? Why not pray to him? It's a good start, my dear. You will start you will not get, you won't be able to say any word, but try, keep trying until you say something, until you put out that feeling you have inside yourself. Unfortunately, we are studying the spiritism. We cannot say I didn't know. Now we know. We have read here, we have watched the lives, we have studied, so we cannot say I didn't know.
But Stevan, just on this point, one thing which maybe we have to understand, yes, we are not here to measure the suffering of anyone, because I don't know what Lee or anyone has passed in their lives. No one knows what I passed. But we have to understand that Spiritism, or the works of the spirits through Allan Kardec, are not here to condemn us, to say, oh, you do this, or you are in trouble. You're going to be in trouble the next life. No, because the entire work of Allan Kardec is based, and that's something that we have to remember all the time, because sometimes we think it's the other way around. The work of Allan Kardec is based in the teachings of Jesus. Not the teachings of Jesus are based on Allan Kardec. And that's here in the Gospel according to Spiritism. That's in the Spirit's book. So all the work of Allan Kardec was guided by Jesus. Not the religious Jesus that we see in the Bible sometimes, or that we see in the church, but by these bigger spirits. And that these bigger spirits, Jesus, he knows one thing. We all need time to forget things. We all need time, because sometimes we think, oh, I've read the Spirit's book. I've read the Gospel according to Spiritism. I'm going to forgive that person tomorrow. I have to forgive that person tomorrow. If you can, like Stevan said, go and do it. But if you are trying deep from your heart, do not condemn yourself if you can't do that now. Give time. Maybe you're not able to talk to that person. Send a prayer to that person. Maybe you're not even able to send a prayer to that person. At least don't try to do any harm to that person. Because sometimes it takes several incarnations for us to really be able to forgive someone. I know the gospel says to us to do that as soon as we can. We know that. But Jesus understood that each one of us, we have different time. So this spirit called Jesus knows that we need time, and he's the one who brought love to earth. He didn't bring to us condemnation. He didn't bring to us rules and dogmas. He brought love to us. And love, to be honest and to be true, needs time. So for those who are watching us and maybe have a problem with someone, and if you really are deep trying inside of your heart to forgive that person, and you are not able yet, believe me, I understand you. We share the same things out of our hearts. Believe me. So do not judge yourself. Do not condemn yourself. But try, as Stevan said, each day to do something different. Maybe sending a prayer. Maybe sending a prayer once per week to that person. Once you go to the church or the Spirit Center, whatever, go to the tree, do your praise, doesn't matter. Say to that person, may God help that person. May God help me to forgive that person. And with time and with care, things, they will fade away. Perhaps it's not in the time that we want. Perhaps not the time which we expected. But each darkness inside of our hearts, each anger, each hard feeling that we have against someone will vanish. And that's, like Don said, that's according to the law of progress. Everything must be cleared out. Everything must be fixed. Because our only destiny, according to the Spiritism, is to progress, is to become pure spirits. We cannot become pure spirits with anger inside of our hearts.
Yes.
So if we are going to become pure spirits, eventually we're going to allow things to, we're going to be able to forgive, but it may take time. And I understand you guys.
John De Rosa says to us, we can practice forgiveness each day when we drive the roads. Every day is a new day. If you couldn't do it today, no problem. Try tomorrow. But try. But try. Someone needs to give the first step. Remember the marriage relationship, someone needs to say, okay, I'm sorry, and someone needs to do it. And because all this knowledge we are having here, we are studying here, guess who shall be that person? Okay? Very good conversation today. Excellent one. I like it. I hope you like it, guys. I hope you like it. So, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for all the excellent comments here. Thank you, Wanderley, for wise word as always. And thank you very much. I wish you a wonderful week. And we will say bye after Wanderley's prayer. So, can you do the final prayer?
I do, yeah. For those who feel comfortable, I would like to invite you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Trying to calm down our minds and our hearts. We'd like to thank God for the lives we have and for it today and each opportunity that we have in order to be able to do better with people, to improve our social skills, to improve our ability to forgive the others, knowing that's difficult. Jesus knew it also. He never asked us to be superhumans, to be the best spirits ever in one day. But he asked us to keep trying with all our hearts and trying to honor his memory. I would like to invite you, each one of us, to think perhaps about someone that we have a difficult memory or a difficult relationship. And let's try to send to that person a bit of love. And if love is not possible yet for us to feel or to send to that person, at least some empathy to try to understand that perhaps that person have hurted us, but maybe that person didn't know what that person was doing. Let's try to remember that the only way that we're gonna free ourselves is to forgive him. And that's what Jesus wants from us. Not because he wants us to be nice only to each other, but he wants us to be nice with ourselves. And he knows that's the only way for us to progress. Thank you, dear Master Jesus, for the teachings that have brought to us 2,000 years ago, which are still difficult to us to understand and to comprehend, especially in this society. But please help our hearts to open up in order to understand what is really important and what will help us to progress. Thank God, and so be it. Good night to everyone.
Good. Thank you very much. See you on Thursday. God bless you all. Thank you, Wanderley, for nice words. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.